The Paranormal Project Radio Show. Here are your hosts, Scott Allen and Christina Bowen.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Paranormal Project Radio Show. Christina, it's so good to have you with us. How are you?
I'm good. How are you doing tonight, Scott?
Good. Excellent. So good to see you. And you know, we do all of these shows. We have some fun guests, but I really do always love bringing in my medium friends and talking about all of the stuff that the spiritual and the metaphysical bring. And tonight we have a guest with us that's going to talk about something that we have not talked about on this show yet. And I'm very interested in it. We're going to be talking about the Akashic Records. And I don't know if a lot of people know what the Akashic Records are, but we're going to get into that tonight. And she does spirit art, and she does a whole bunch of other things. So actually, Chanel, if we could bring our guest out, welcome Nancy Smith to the show. How are you?
Good. Thank you for having me on. This is exciting.
Yeah. And you also have your own show. And what night is your show? Is it Tuesday nights?
Tuesday nights on Facebook Live called Angelscapes Podcast, but it's on all the podcast stations, also on YouTube. So if you can't make it to Facebook, you can find me.
You can find it later. And I love that because you get some really nice guests on your show, too, talking about all kinds of things that I've never really had a whole lot of experience with, even though I do this, like fairies and all this other stuff. So, matter of fact, I've taken note on some of your guests, so I got to look them up and see if I can reach out to them, you know. So
just let me know. Let me know. I'll get you in.
Welcome. So glad that you were able to join us. Tell me, we talked a little bit about what we wanted to talk to, and I think one of the things that you're passionate about, and I know that you and I have talked about this, is the Akashic Records.
Right.
What are the Akashic Records?
Well, the Akashic Records, really fast history. Helena Blavatsky traveled around the world, and she was wealth and could do whatever she wanted. And she was lucky at that time, and studied old religions. And she found in the Sanskrit religion and Sanskrit language this thing called Akasha or Akashic Records. It's the idea that the creator, the Akasha is the energy of the creator. It's a very indelible energy. Everything the creator has ever created since she started creating is in this Akashic field, which people call the Akashic Records. And then move ahead a few more years, and Edgar Casey was the unconscious prophet, started to read from what he called the Akashic Records. And he did a lot of past life work. So many people connect Akashic Records and past life work as well. So that's kind of a little bit of the history of it. But most important to remember is the word Akasha is about energy and spirit, and records is just a recording or a collection of information in the Akashic realm, in the big kahuna heaven of the creator. So it's a really nice place to go because there's lots of information there when you go there psychically, when you go there intuitively.
And it really is sort of like the record of everything, past, present, and future.
Correct. Everything. Yeah.
And we all have our own kind of records within.
Absolutely. We all have our own. We have our souls, and our souls have their records. And then within each, this is how I understand it, with each umbrella of the soul are all these lifetimes within the soul. And each individual, all the way down to your hangnails, there's a record of your experience of your life, and all of your lives, and lives on other planets, and lives in other dimensions. And it's very connected.
And that's funny too, because I was going to say that to you. I felt like it's our soul's journey, not just us here in this life at this time. It's our soul's journey. Do you believe that our souls have lived on other, when we have past lives, can we have past lives, other places,
Absolutely. Absolutely. I've always wondered, and I've just been a student of many of these different past life philosophies. And how do you prove a past life? And you can prove a past life. It's not a small thing to do. But yes, you can have experiences on other planets, other dimensions. You can have experiences in your future self, because in the soul realm, time is not linear. Time is more like a loop or a big bubble, and you can access that information just by reaching out and kind of meditating, or just reaching out metaphysically and getting it. So, and it's really amazing to me how many times I've bumped into people who their past life is on another planet. I actually have some watercolors that I painted of other planets as I saw them from the reading that I gave, and as I drew them and showed them to the clients, they were like, "Oh my God, that's exactly what I remember," or "That's exactly what I dream of," or "It's very close." And to me, it's amazing that one of the lifetimes was the planet that was dying, and the beings were very ancient, and they knew that their planet was dying, and they were preparing their next adventure as biological beings on another planet. It was just amazing.
That's fascinating. So when you dive in, to do this with them, it's not like what you think of as a past life regression through hypnosis. It's not that. It's a different way of
Yeah.
approaching it.
Well, you can certainly get through the past life through hypnosis and regression, and that's still the Akashic records. I'll just share with you with that. But when I take people through past lives, I do more of a shamanic journey. Well, I will take them through, and they're very much aware, and they can be creative. The thing that happens when I'm taking them through, I'm often viewing the lifetime with them. So if they come back with one or two things, I'll say, "Oh, did you notice the fuzzy blue thing in the corner?" And they said, "Oh yeah, that's right." So as I used my mediumship skills to travel with them on the shamanic journey, and I feel a few people have said, I can't be hypnotized. I've never been hypnotized, but they are able to go on the shamanic journey kind of thing. So
How interesting. And I think I've experienced, I mean, not that specifically, but I had an experience once with a woman who has been a huge help to me as I was opening up years ago. And she is a shaman, and I didn't believe what was going on. And we did some of these things where she took me on this journey, but she was with me, and she would ask me what I saw, and then was able to kind of like, I understand that, you know what I mean? Or she would see it, or share it with me. And I thought that was really fascinating.
yeah, it's amazing. It's amazing kind of what you can see and what you can experience. I just want to also add that the Akashic realm, or the Akashic records, can be accessed when you're in high levels of creativity, or say you're composing music or writing. I've seen people just kind of enter into the Akashic records spontaneously without really realizing what they're doing, but they're getting information from that higher realm, or from a library in the Akashic realm, and they'll come. I remember one woman who had no inclination to anything metaphysical. It was a writers group. We were sitting there and meeting once, a couple times a month, and she was writing this memoir of this 13-year-old woman from Ireland, and how she got onto a boat and came to America, and how she did, and the memory was so specific. And I'm looking at her, I said, "Have you ever researched?" She goes, "No, it's just coming through me." And I said, "Oh my God, it's, I wonder," I didn't know if it was a past life or she was just talking to another spirit who was describing their life to him. And that's Akashic work as far as I'm concerned.
See, and I love that. It's fascinating. And I know you teach a mentorship on the Akashic work, which you and I have also talked about, because I'm fascinated with it. I just don't know what it manifests itself. How does it manifest? How do you know you're there? And I've done guided meditations where we've gone in, and you can see, but I don't know if that's it either. Do you know?
Yeah, I think it's one of those things, you do it, you have the experience of it, so you could understand what it is. Somebody explained this to me once. How do you know past life? You're not just inventing it or making it up, for instance. And he said, "Well, it's like if I tell you now, I want you to step into, and it's a cold, rainy day, and you're freezing, and you'll say to me, 'No, it's hot. I got to take my sweater off. I'm really,' and it's very arid, and it's almost like a desert here." That's when you know you're in, because it's specific, and you can't change it as much as you try to change it. And in some ways, when you're in the Akashic records, you can't decide that you want it to be something else. It is what it is. And that's when you know that you're connected to an intelligent memory kind of thing. But,
so have you been doing that a while? I mean, how do is that a big part of what you do now, is the Akashic work?
Yeah, the Akashic work. And even when I do my mediumship, I open up the Akashic records so that it's like a boost. It's like putting a special little boost in my ears to hear more, because I'm in that Akashic vibration, the Akashic field of energy. And I want to say that when we pass over, we go to the Akashic realm. It's the energy of the Creator. It's heaven. So yes, it's a big part of what I do. And my mentorships really work on self-healing and connecting yourself to your soul and self-awareness and understanding what I call the 3 levels of consciousness within yourself, so that you can maneuver through how you were created physically, and the ego that you have, your aware self, and then your higher self, and how you integrate them all. And once something aspects of ourselves become integrated with our soul really wants to know what we're up to and what we're doing, and wants to have that information, yet we hide it from our spiritual self. Like, I don't want you to know how bad I was yesterday. But when I call that integration work, some people big talk in New Age about ascension, we're ascending. And I said, well, this is ascension work. This is when we integrate our life's experience with our soul, and that information is in the Creator's realm. We're in. That's it. That's what we're here for. If that makes sense to you.
I do. I think it's great. So, and you also do spirit art, which I also am fascinated with. I know that, and I've had this conversation with other people, that when I see spirit, I don't know if I see them as they are, or if I see them as how I need to understand who they are.
Right. Well, I tell you, it's both. Let me tell you. Can I just talk a little bit about that?
Yeah,
please. Spirit art. I will. When I first started drawing, I was seeing spirit. I was actually seeing their faces clairvoyantly, and I was trying to sketch. And as a matter of fact, I could look at the paper, and a face will come up, and I would sketch around, and I would sketch in the shadows, and that's how I got my faces. But then after a while, spirit kind of evolved me into, they just wanted me to do automatic. And I'm like, I didn't want to do automatic. I just wanted to know what I was drawing. And so now I can get information in faces or faces that remind me of somebody else, so that I can get the information that I need to give to them. But I have to let that go and just let the face flow through me. So I have a system that I've created about, so that my mind has a place where to, what to do with the information. This is where the forehead goes. This is where the chin goes. This is the perspective or the proportion. So I get them correct. And then I say, okay, now we've got this going on. How big is the nose? How wide is the nose? Where, and then I'll get a feel for where it goes or where it doesn't go. And I have to say, these are not Kodak moments. I don't know that any spirit artist has done a Kodak moment,
right?
Except for maybe Coral Polge. And then there's another guy, Frederick. I think his name's Remington, but they're amazing spirit artists. But I have captured enough usually for somebody to recognize, that's in the realm of, he did have that pointed chin and those eyes, because something with the hair kind of thing.
Yeah.
So
were you an artist before, or did that just kind of come to you? You were.
I was a illustrator. I went to RISD, Rhode Island School of Design, and did a lot of figure drawing, a lot of work. And then just as this phenomena happened to me, I was drawing portraits of my friends' kids, because I was at the age where we were all having kids. So I was just sketching them for money. So, and then all of a sudden, I had this opening, and I drew, and I started to draw. Faces started to show up on the paper, and I started to draw those faces, and people were recognizing them as being their loved ones who had passed. And I said, what the heck's going on here? So spirit snuck up on me, I think. But
I kind of jokingly say that, unless your grandmother looked like a stick figure in life, you're probably not going to get a picture from me. I don't think that's not going to work out. So did you open up later in life? Was this a later in life?
Well, I
Oh,
think so.
yeah.
What I did is I was always kind of really a sensitive kid, and I always saw things that weren't there, and my
Mhm.
imagination was crazy. But then over time, kind of shut it down, and didn't pay attention to that crazy stuff anymore. And then it was when I had my kids. And when you're a mother, you have to have eyes in the back of your head. So that
Mhm.
just triggered my intuition, and it got stronger and stronger. And the thing that finally put it into place was my daycare provider had a murder in her family. Her
Oh my gosh.
brother-in-law was shot and killed on the job, and they were upset and weren't quite sure what's happening. And I'm listening to her, and all these little kids are running around, and there's a phenomena of when you touch something, of getting what was the name of that? When you touch something, information starts coming through his
There is,
uh,
and now that you've said it, I
yeah, I
can't
said it.
think
I
of
know.
it.
I'll get it. But anyway, the car that he was killed in was flatbedded into her backyard, and all the kids are running around. She said, "Oh my God, can you help me? I have to clean this out. For my husband sees it, he's going to be so upset." So I went in there
Oh,
and collected the papers, put them in garbage bags, figured out what stuff needed to be neatened up and brought back into the house. And when I did that, this man's spirit just entered into my auric field and started telling me one story after another. I thought I was just losing my mind. And so that's when I really,
Psychometry. Sorry. The word
yes,
you talked about is
psychometry. Yes, psychometry.
psychometry. That's it.
That was my
Psychometry.
first
Good Lord.
experience with mediumship, was through psychometry. And
Wow.
and when I went home, these faces would not stop. And so I laid out all my sketching material, and they
Mhm.
started coming up from the paper, and I started sketching them. I did 5 or 6 or 7, I can't remember how many, brought them over to her, and she recognized, that's my brother-in-law, that's my father, and that's the guy that just came to my house, and I swear he's the one that shot him. And it just was heebie-jeebies
Oh
everywhere.
my God.
So all of it went to the police for several months, and then it came back to me. And of course, you never know what happens, and they don't say much in these police investigations. So that was my first police investigation um,
Mhm.
exercise, and so that's how it started. And I didn't even, honestly, did not know what mediumship was, and did not know what a medium was, and I had to learn if that
Yeah.
so that was I guess if that was a little later opening up. um kind
Yeah,
of
and I feel like for me it was not what I saw in the movie, so I don't think I recognized what was really happening. It took a while. Plus, I
Okay.
worked in a funeral home for
Well,
35
I was
years,
going to
and
ask you that. Yeah.
yeah,
You think
yeah.
any of that
Imagine that.
happened while you were working in a funeral home? Did you ever have a sense of
Well, there was yeah, it was over a period of time, but it was just coincidences. Oh, they're just coincidences, you know.
Yeah.
There was that kind of thing, and then I
Mhm.
remember towards the end of it, I remember feeling like there's something around me. Like I could feel it. Like, why is it
Yeah.
moving?
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
could
Yeah.
feel like there was something around me.
Yeah.
I could
Yeah.
feel energy with my hands, which I never thought I could feel before, and to be able to manipulate that. And then I started noticing like there's people walking up and down the stairs. I could hear it.
Mm.
And actually, I mean, I think the reason that I do all of this sort of paranormal stuff is because that's how it manifested for me. It felt like a ghost. I felt like I had a spirit attachment, is what it really felt like to me. It was almost a ghost story.
Mhm.
And it's not like that now. I mean, once I learned to control it, you can shut it off and kind of go about your life. But
Yeah.
that's how it started. That's how it started for me. And it was really
Interesting.
actually kind of frightening.
Oh, yeah, I
Can you
bet.
do that,
Yeah.
Nancy? Can you shut it down like that?
I can. I try to. Some of it I can't. I've have been in a couple different houses that have had spirits in them that didn't want to leave, and I tried like heck to get him to just be quiet already, because he liked to make noise at night, and so I couldn't quiet him down. But when I go grocery shopping, when I'm out in public, I'm very sensitive. I'm sensitive, so I have to shut it down, and I just bring my aura close into me. Sometimes I imagine shutting my third eye, and
Mhm.
sometimes I put earbuds in my ears and play either um, play books on tape, or I'll play music, just so that I can't feel the vibration of everything around me. Um, so yeah, I do. I have to shut it down. And if
Wow.
I don't shut it down, right, Scott, if you don't shut it down, it's draining.
It was draining. It was draining. Although I feel like I'm a little different in the sense that I have it perpetually shut off. I mean, we set that intention a long time ago that it's not on unless I turn it on. And so
Okay.
when I'm out and about, I
I like
tend
that.
to be distracted and I don't notice, you know. But when I sit and do a reading, I'm like, okay, it's time. You can come now.
It's like
You know,
taking off sunglasses.
Yeah,
yeah, like
there's
taking
some
off
kind of
sunglasses.
signals. When
Yeah.
I told you I do when I open up the Akashic records when I do mediumship, and that's my way of really I'm opening up. And then I close,
Yep.
I say a prayer that closes the Akashic records, and that closes me, because that's been really helpful, because I was doing all of these little opening and closings. But when I got into that really I'm serious prayer, that helped me really set up a nice boundary. Because I didn't want to turn off my intuition about my life in general, but I didn't want to talk to
Everybody's dead person.
So I'll tell you this story really fast. I lived next door to a undertaker. Had great neighbors. They moved out. The undertaker moved in, full of attachments. You could feel them and all the time and see them. So one day he came home and I heard the shoveling of this dirt, and I looked out. And he had taken a bunch of loam from the cemetery and put them in the back trunk of his car, and he was shoveling out to put them into his garden. And dirt is a really good medium. And my kitchen was full, just full.
Wow.
And I had said, "Everyone out of here!" And
oh my
but
gosh.
this one time, I was getting out of the shower, and this one man had passed I think in his 40s. He still had younger kids, and he was panicked, and he didn't have a shirt on, and he said, "I have to find my wife. I have to find my kids. I don't know." He was a little bit worked up. And I said, "Well, hold on a minute. What happened?" And then I started to get the information of what he had a very fast coronary, and he was still kind of trying to sort it out. So he was not quite on the other side yet. That doesn't hardly ever happen. And I was surprised. So I brought my team in, my team of angels, and I said, "I have really good messengers for you." And I hooked them up with with my helpers. But I think that I had that experience because I was right next door to the undertaker, and they had a fast track over to my house.
And I don't think in general, you know, people who deal with death, they've shut off all of that because you just have to do your job and that's it. So he's bringing dirt home or whatever else he's doing. He's not even thinking about it. He's just, you know, I'm just going to, oh, there's some great dirt. Let's just put it in. Meanwhile, you're getting bombarded.
Yeah.
It's so crazy.
He's walking his dog down the street, and I'm watching, you know, there's at least one person following him. I'm like, oh, gee, this poor guy. And he was getting more and more cranky. So he needed a good clearing and he needed a good talking to. But anyway, I just had to tell you that story.
Well, it is fascinating. Do you see them? You don't see them visually, like sort of externally. It's all like mind's eye stuff.
Yeah, mind's
but you
eye
know
stuff.
They're there.
Although, have you ever had this experience where you see something at the corner of your eye and you look and it's not there, but it's there? It's like the peripheral vision can be really active. And so sometimes I'll say, wait a minute, that's the third time I caught that. And I'll start talking to them. I have a strong sense that when we pass, or that when anyone passes, there's a whole team. We're with a whole team right now in our life. You've got your guardian angel, you've got your healer guide, you've got all this. So when we're in the process of passing, all of those guides are there helping you, you know, move to the other side. So I don't necessarily think souls get lost or spirits get lost, but they can leave residual energy behind them unless they want a specific thing, and then they're there on purpose. So I don't have all of the answers, but I do have a sense of it's not a scary thing to pass. We don't get lost. We're helped. Doesn't matter what you've done in your life. You always go to that loving place. You got to sort it out, and you got to face up the stuff that you've done or didn't do. But I don't know how many people agree with me or don't agree with me, but it's a pretty good system. This going back into spirit, as far as I can tell.
I think it's more scary how,
Yeah.
how it's
Yeah.
going to happen as opposed to when it happens, I think.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. I agree. But yeah, so you kind of feel that way too, that I really have connected with a spirit who was mean or frustrated or out of control or anything like that. They've always been.
I don't generally, but I will tell you an interesting story, if you don't mind. And I know you're the
Oh,
guest,
yeah.
but this is on that line. And I had dinner with a friend in Maine a couple of years ago. Her daughter is very, very, very intuitive, and I mean extremely. But she doesn't do it. She shuts it off. She just doesn't want anything to do with it. They want something to do with her. It's like they can see the light. She had gone to
Right.
school in Salve Regina, which is that? I think that's in Newport or something. And
Oh,
she was in an
yeah.
area that was quite haunted. And she felt like there was a spirit that followed her back home. She kept seeing this shadow figure around her bed. Her house was not haunted. And that her mother, who's also quite intuitive, was getting it as well.
Uh-oh.
And had gone away for a while. She was going to get married. She was living with her fiance, and he was back. And he was around harassing her, waking up, and there he is over the bed. She couldn't get rid of him. So we're sitting having dinner in Maine, which is like, they're in Massachusetts, and, we were up in Maine. And she said, do you think you could tune into him and find out what the problem is? Yeah, Rhode Island, Salve Regina, Lisa was saying, yeah. So I said, let's see. Because I've done some work with people who needed to be crossed over and that kind of stuff. And we kind of, but I tried to connect with him. There was no crossing him over. He was not a nice guy. He wasn't like a serial killer. He wasn't a demon. He wasn't, it was none of that. I just feel like he was from a very different time where women were property, and he was going to do what he wanted to do. And I can do it because who's going to stop me? And I did try to move him along, and he left for a while, and he came back about a year later. He was back at her
No
again.
kidding.
And she ended up finding a shaman that helped her, and he's been gone ever since, as far as I know. I don't think he's been back.
Okay.
But but generally speaking, in readings and all that kind of stuff, I don't get that kind of negativity. I don't find that at all.
No.
Most are just grateful, that you're able to make that connection. But he was just different. He was just different.
Yeah, anomaly. Yeah, and I'd love to know what happened. I have a long list when I get to heaven of questions of why.
Yeah.
How, what, why, what was, I don't know if anyone will ever hear back from me with the answers to the questions. But, I wonder a lot of stuff, right?
I don't really know. I mean, and that's the funny thing is we don't really know how it works, even though we do this work, and we still don't know. We still don't know.
Yeah. I think there's a reason why we don't know. I don't actually understand that reason either. That's one of the questions. But I remember listening to somebody in a near-death experience. She says, I knew all of it. I understood everything. It all made sense. But then they said I had to come back. And when I came back, they said, you can't remember it. And so the veil, she said she felt a veil show up because she had to live her life without knowing all of this other stuff. And I'm really curious about that.
Don't you feel, though, that we have to live our own journey? I mean, we don't get any free rides just because we have the ability to somehow connect. We still have to take our own trip. It's our own journey. And so I think that's why there's mystery to it, even for us. I don't even know why.
The medium, whether you're mediums or psychics or you have really amazing gifts, you still have to do your own personal journey.
Exactly.
You don't. There's no getting out of jail free card.
There really isn't. There really isn't.
And I've been looking for that, and I don't understand it. But there's a lot of mysteries in life. But when I go into people's Akashic records and they're saying, how come this didn't happen, or how come I can't have this, there will generally not be a 100% clear answer, but there'll be a redirect, or there'll be some kind of opening up to say, did you think about it this way? And if you knew to do this, you wouldn't do this over here. But doing this over here has made you very strong and wise in this area. And look at how many people you can help, or something like that. Which is why one of my question is, how come I wasn't born a wealthy person? Why do I struggle with money? And well, because, and sometimes I say, nah, I don't want to know. Just, it is what it is. But there are many things that our souls will design, and we actually will design it with our souls. Oh yeah, and we overdo it sometimes, where we'll have specific experiences to cause a specific feelings, and solutions will come up, and those experiences will deepen a wisdom for the soul. So there is a design for, I don't want to say, and I'm not meaning to say there's a design to come in and be, a abused child. That's not what I'm talking about. But there could be a pressure of certain bonding patterns or certain understandings that, as you push through them, you grow, and right. You have a lot to offer from that growth. So that's kind of where I've gotten a lot of answers from. That.
What's your sense on, in terms of the Akashic records, what's your sense on people who are genuinely not good people? There, history has shown a lot. We have serial killers, we have dictators, we have all of these things, and we know they're not good people.
No,
and I know this is sort of theoretical, right? I mean, you can't really,
But that is such a good question, because everyone asks it, and there's some people that just cannot buy into some of the spiritual stuff because they want the bad people to go to hell. And in my journey of asking that question, first there's mentally ill people, and we have genetic mental illness, or genetic, we've missed the gene for empathy, or we're just born sociopaths. So there's that, and people have to learn how to live with it, or they don't know how to learn to live with it, and there's no right or wrong button inside of them. So there's that, and then there's Neil Donald Walsh wrote these children's books about wanting to, this little angel wanted to experience God's love. And the only way he thought he could experience God's love is to not have God's love around him. So he was going to get born. And then his best friend ever said, I'll go and help you, and I'll be the mean one to make you think that nobody loves you. And it was a very simplified story, which is they made this agreement in heaven so that he could have this experience in earth on the biological level, and go back to heaven and realize, oh, now I understand. And that was really creative of the writer to write that. But it got me thinking about if we had life in the human version of perfect, would we learn and grow what our soul wanted us to learn and grow? So, of course, we're all free to make our decisions and make bad decisions, good decisions, or I don't care about you anymore, or I have ideals inside of ourselves that are just belief systems that are not serving anybody. But some of the belief systems and some of the Christians in the Middle Ages kind of thing, pretty horrendous. Or or the I don't want to get into anything current, but where people were justifying killing each other because of their religion, and because this is what God wants me to do. And I puzzle over that a lot. But people use spirituality to justify being horrible to each other. So what do you do with those people? What do you do with those people? I think you got to turn it over to heaven, and they go back and they have a long talk with their soul, and they said, well, what did you learn? What happened? But there are many people that then have the experience of losing their lives for, I had this experience of losing my life, and I'm a victim to somebody else's wrath. So what did you learn from that? And I don't like that plan, but it is a plan. So you can't really, I've judged somebody else's life based on what you think is right or wrong. And that's a spiritualist philosophy. As a matter of fact, a little principle in there where you don't know where they've been, you don't know what their background is, and you don't know what the spiritual pressures on them. You don't let them hurt you. You certainly don't let people have a free ride and run hurt on you, but to decide to judge them whether they should go to heaven or hell isn't our job. If that's kind of the philosophy I've come up with, although there's a lot of people I'd like to knock their heads together and say, what are you thinking about?
Yeah. Does spiritualism believe in a heaven and hell?
No, everyone goes to home.
Just goes
Everyone
home.
goes home.
So is there any kind of punishment for behavior that's bad?
Well, yeah. But spiritualism teaches is the reciprocity or the balance of life. What you do, what comes back to you, and you're responsible for what you do, and say you're responsible for your own happiness. And so when you go home, you have to right the ship. You have to balance the scales. You have to do whatever it takes to. And I don't know what those things actually are. I haven't been there in a while, but you do have to balance the life, and you are responsible and accountable for how you've lived your life, even though
there is an accountability. It's not just
Absolutely.
You chalk it up to, I just decided that I was going to be like this, and because I wanted to experience being a serial killer, so I'm going to go. So I'm going to, I don't know who would want to do that, but you are, and that's a good point. You are a spiritualist. You're in the spiritualist church.
Yeah.
You were ordained as a spiritualist. I don't know if that's the right word. Clergy. Through
Minister,
the journey within.
Reverend.
The journey within.
Yeah.
I believe Lisa, if she's still here, Lisa, I think we met at the Journey Within in New Jersey when we were together there, and I guess it was September now. If she's still here, Lisa, you can say hi. I believe that we met there. And you were brought in through Janet, who's sadly no longer with us. But do you serve in the capacity? You don't obviously serve there every week because that's how many hours.
It's too far away. Yeah, no, but there's many spiritualist churches, as in the New England area that I can certainly drive to. So I do serve many churches where either to give the message, the lecture work, or do the message mediumship work, or do a workshop. I've been doing that for years and years, and so I continue to do it. And in my home church, Quincy Church, I do work there as well. But I'm not a pastor of a church, and but I do my own ministry. I guess you could call it that. Not trying to. What's my ministry? Is just to show people that they're not alone, that they're loved, and I feel like that's the biggest message in mediumship is to say, yes, we do go home, and their life does continue after the change called death. But when we're here, we're still loved, and we're not alone. Although there's a lot of illusion of being alone in this lifetime here on this planet. For some reason, here we're created human beings as social animals, and then we isolate each other. So we don't quite have the program down pat yet, but in any event, so that's kind of my background, and it's really interesting to feel the blend or experience the blend that's happened for me through mediumship. And then I was raised Catholic, and moving away from the Catholic, although I still have a lot of the Catholic. I love the Catholic, some of the beliefs and some of the things, but what am I trying to say? The blending of Akashic record work with the mediumship work has been fascinating for spirit to be dragging me down that pathway, but taking me down that pathway because it's about connecting to your soul, your eternal self, and being a partner with your internal self to have a fulfilling life.
I think so, and I think, I don't know, for me, I feel like I've changed a lot since I think the whole spiritual awakening has done a lot for me. You look at things differently, you feel differently, and you live in a way, because I was also raised Catholic. Okay. So I have that background, and it's hard to shake that, the whole Catholic guilt. I don't want to call it Catholic guilt, but it sticks with you. You know what I mean? It sticks with you, and I can't just separate that from who I am. But I feel like since I have awakened spiritually, that idea of an afterlife and that life continues to go on, well, it's become real for me, because somehow I have a way to kind of either connect in some way that I think I didn't have before. Before it was just on faith. Now it's on this sense of awareness.
Experience. Yeah. Yeah. You know
And
it.
so
Yeah.
you just kind of know it. And I think you realize that there are people out there doing good work, bringing light and positivity to people. And I think that's just a beautiful thing, really and truly, you
Yeah.
know.
Yeah. Yeah. We need
Do
more
you?
of those. Yeah.
We do. We do. Now, do you actually have a physical location where you are, or are you just, is everything kind of remote? You don't have like a
Well,
store or something like that, do
no,
you?
I don't have a brick and mortar place that
Yeah.
happened that died along with a lot of other things that
Yeah.
financially. So I do remote, but I also, a lot of my work is out of state, is people are from far away. So
Yeah.
so having a Zoom or remote setup, or if somebody does, or phone, sometimes people don't like getting on the computer, so I do a lot of phone readings, conference calls, so I can record them. Yeah, so my outreach goes sometimes India, or so, as far as India, I should say, and then over England, and I did some work with people in Scotland, and then
How wonderful.
Denmark. So I mean, most of it is people from around the country. So
Hey, Brandon, thanks for watching. Now, Brandon, I believe this is the Brandon that I met the other night because I was on your show. Brandon, I believe, is a shaman, and he does have a show. So I'm glad you stopped in, Brandon. Nice to see you, Brandon. Yeah, yeah.
nice.
Yeah, it's just nice to see people popping in and saying hi here.
Yeah, it is cool. It's great.
It is cool. I think, sorry, I've got a brain like a colander, and I apologize. I saw him pop up, and now I'm gone. It is what it is. It is what it is. Part blonde, part gray. It's a bad combination. Let me tell you. What were we? We were just saying something, and I apologize. It just completely went out the door as soon as I saw that pop up.
So you were talking about brick and mortar, and I was saying, well, I'm more
brick and mortar.
remote.
Yeah.
And so yeah, no, I'm accessible. From any walks of this, for any geographical areas. Just there's no place to drive up and park your car and come in.
No, but I think people get used to that with, after COVID, people realized that they didn't need to, I still get a few people occasionally like to come in and do in person, but the Zoom, or, however you do it, Zoom, whatever, it works. It works really well. Do you travel much? I mean, you and I met in Quincy at the Spiritualist Church.
Yeah.
And the story behind that was you're having that demonstration class on platform mediumship,
right, yeah,
with Sheila French from England.
Yep.
And I had lost my mom last year.
Oh,
and I was thinking to myself, it was, what am I going to do on Mother's Day? I was dreading it. I have to tell you, I was dreading it. And all of a sudden, I can't believe there's this class on platform mediumship on Mother's Day. I'm going because I just need to be doing something else. And so, yeah, I don't know why it was on Mother's Day. I don't care. It was just a great thing, and it was perfect for me. And it was a small turnout, I think, probably because it was Mother's Day.
It was Mother's Day. We had a long conversation about why are you doing this on Mother's Day? Well, then that's when she can come. But I won't do it again. But I'm so glad you came.
I'm so glad. For me, I mean, I probably would have liked to have come anyway, but the fact that it was Mother's Day was like, that was the extra piece for me, because I knew that I would be able to stay focused. So it was perfect, and glad to do that. And then I met you, which is great. And, and so I appreciate everything we do. We have a new connection,
Yeah, no, I was thrilled, absolutely thrilled to meet you, and you actually came in and you were really focused, and you were really ready to work, and you were there 100%. And it's like, this guy is awesome. This guy.
No, I don't know. Well, the interesting thing is I've only been to the church in Quincy twice, the Spiritualist Church of Quincy. And the first time I was there was in November of 22. And I came, and it was odd. My mom had been brought to the hospital. She was coming home the next day, but she was coming home on Monday. But I was there on Sunday, and they asked, who do you want healing for? And I put her name in the basket and that kind of thing. And I went to the service, and people were so friendly. There's another man there, and I can't think of his name now, but he also does spirit art. And he just took me around and I know if you said his name, I probably know who he is. He's an older gentleman. But he was
James. Yeah,
James. That's it, James.
Yeah,
and he
James.
took me around and was showing me different things and introducing me to people. And then the next day, my mom died unexpectedly. I mean, it was just
Oh,
that. It was
oh,
like that.
that close.
And so I didn't go back there right away. It took me some time to kind of feel like I'm ready.
Mhm.
You know, I wasn't ready. But
Absolutely,
it had nothing
yeah,
to do with a
yeah.
church or anything. It was just me. And then Mother's Day was the next time I went back, and I was so grateful to have that opportunity. So it was
Good,
beautiful.
wonderful.
It's a
Yeah,
spirit thing.
it is. It's a spirit thing.
Yeah.
So, so we made all those plans all those months ago without knowing that you needed to go, but Spirit knew that you would need that. So that was
Yeah.
all the
Sorry
way
to
from
commandeer.
England.
Sorry to commandeer your your class, but I was really grateful that
Yeah,
that I had that opportunity. And Sheila was great. She was great. She's taught it out there, Finley, right?
yes.
No. Did she teach it? But she has her own
Wh-
thing too.
She has her
over
own thing. She used
Yeah,
to
yeah,
teach
yeah.
at Arthur Finley, then
Yeah,
she opened up her own thing called Star in England,
Yes,
and
yes,
she
yes,
has
yes,
a very
yes.
good. It's a very. I haven't been there, but I've taken online classes where her students were there. They're very good. It's
Oh,
very
nice,
lovely. Yeah,
nice.
yeah.
So I know I keep taking you off the Akashic records, but I feel like we're
Okay.
just kind of journeying and talking along as we go. Because I know we're getting close to the end here, believe it or not. Time just kind of flies.
Wow.
But I do want to I have to ask you this because I saw one of your shows on your podcast, and it was a woman that came on, and you were talking about fairies.
Oh yeah,
And I
Jen
can't remember her
Hackett.
name.
Yeah, yeah.
Is that
Uh,
really a thing?
Jennifer Hackett. Yes, it's really a thing. I went to, I'll give you my experience. She's seen them plenty of times, but I went to Lilydale, and there is a place in Lilydale where it's full of fairies. And a friend took me there, and I can't say where it is, but we sat there and I saw fairies, all different colors,
Really?
lights. It was the middle of the night, all different colors, lights, different color sizes, and they were not a pattern that you could say, oh, that's that, or this is that. They were definitely not fireflies either, because they were
Mhm.
different colors and different sizes. And they had their movements were very expressive. So yeah, it's a
Now you see them with your eyes because they're
yes,
physical beings. It's not
that
like
was
you're seeing
yeah,
like,
Yes.
yes.
and they're little.
Well, yeah, the like thumbnail, kind of.
Oh, like
Mhm.
thumbnail, really little.
That's what I only saw the lights, so
Mhm.
that's
I'm
all I saw.
fascinated by it. And I know if you go over to like, I don't know if it's Ireland or Scotland. I mean,
Yeah,
they have a really big. I mean, I think they moved a
yeah.
highway because there was a tree there that the fairies hung out in, and they went
Really?
around it. They went
Wow.
around it. I
Oh,
can't
that's
remember if it was
great.
Ireland or Scotland. Now I can't remember, but I think it's just
They
so
take it
fascinating.
serious.
They take it
That's
serious,
good.
but it's not so you're taught growing up. Well, it's Tinkerbell, and she's not really real. That's Disney, and
Yeah. Well,
um,
we're told a lot of things aren't really real. And
Mhm.
so I feel that sometimes it's group hypnosis, because if you tell somebody enough times that it's not really real, they'll stop noticing it. But if you don't say that to somebody and they start seeing what's exactly in front of them, they're not socialized in that way. They
Mhm.
just, oh, look at that. See, what's that, mama? I don't
yeah.
know what you're looking at. But
Well, don't you think it's like that with our kids too? Like some kids. My son has his own this psychic stuff. He's only 10. So, we're not like too deep, but he's definitely got his psychic stuff going on. I can tell. I
does
can
he?
tell the way he
Does
hears
he?
things and talks to people. And
And you're not
but I think
shutting him down either.
well, that's the difference. Is I'm not. I'm acknowledging it. Like he'll hear them calling his name and Nicholas, and he's like, Dad, I
Wow.
hear them. I could feel them touching my
Wow.
leg. And he doesn't do it
Wow.
because he knows that I do this. He was doing this. He's been doing this forever. You know what I mean? He's just
Little.
been able to, yeah. But I think that he if I were the type of person that was like, oh, come on, that's nothing. I think they shut that stuff down. Just like you said, I think
Yeah.
there people would be more open. And I think that is, as we awaken, as I said, because do you feel like people are on this awakening too?
Oh yeah. I really, really hope so. Anyway, but I do see more and more people waking up, and I see more children thinking different kinds. Well, children have always thought independently until they're socialized, but there are a lot of gifted kids, and they're not shutting down.
Right,
You know,
right.
puberty shuts us down, no doubt about it, but they're not shutting. Some of them just aren't. They're still in that space, and it's wonderful to see, but they don't get a lot of support for what they see.
Well, and I think that's the difference. And it's funny because I chat with a woman on her show the other night, and she is a medium, and she has 2 children who are also very, very gifted. And she said, you'll watch it happen, like they were strong, and then they went through puberty, and it's almost like it goes away and then it comes back again, you know, when they come back around. So I'm fully expecting that to happen, you know.
Good, yeah.
So Nancy, we have a few minutes left. Obviously, we have your website right at the bottom of the page here.
Yeah.
What else would you love people to know? I mean, do you have places you're going to be, events or things where people want to?
I absolutely do. I have this February coming up a mediumship and art development class. It's on my website. So starting February 3rd, I'm really excited about it. It's a different way of teaching mediumship. And so I'm combining the artwork, but you don't have to be an amazing artist. We're just using the pencil, the drawing on the paper as another psychic gift. So you can get information from your drawing. And people have been enjoying the class. They've been coming back. I'm teaching at Lilydale again for the 5th year in a row. I'll be there June 22nd, 23rd, teaching mediumship art again. So that's kind of a theme. And
can anybody go there? Can anybody go to Lilydale and take a class?
Yes, anybody.
I've never been. I keep saying I need to go.
You just got to have enough money to get through the gate. So,
Oh, there you go.
No, yet anyone can go, and it's a really fun place to be. Lots of history there, lots of energy there. And then in April, I start my next Akashic Journey intensive. It's a 6-month intensive, and you can use it as soon as you start learning it. People use it to heal their lives or develop or take their lives to the next level. But also people come in who are professionals, and they'll take the class and they'll add it to their tool bag.
And you don't have to be a medium to take the class. I asked you this, but just so people know, you do not have to be a medium. So, you know, Christina is a what's that?
Can anyone access the Akashic records?
Mm-hmm. Yes. You just have to learn how to do that, practice it. Because everyone, yes. And that's a whole long class on why. But yes, anyone can take it. People have taken it and said, this isn't a beginner class, because I do take us all into the deep pool pretty quick. But I see people doing the work, and they're doing quite well with it. So
I love it.
Yeah.
I love it. So I just want to say, before we close out the show, next week, we are not here live. My son has a band concert, and I have to be there. I cannot be here while he's up on stage playing his drums. So we are going to be there, but we did record the show. Laura Hellickson, who stopped in and said hello, is our guest next week. Laura is she is quite an individual, and she is very, I think, intuitive to a certain degree, but she makes these devices that are they're crystal pods, and they pick up on magnetic waves, and you can tell when there's spirit around. Looks sort of like a REM pod, but it's done with crystals and everything, and they're absolutely beautiful. And she makes them designer for different people, and she does. So she's gonna be on the show next week. We had such a fun chat, and so she is on next week, but that is a recorded show. And the following week, Christina and I are traveling to San Antonio for an event, so we'll be down there. So that will also be a recorded show. And we're doing that on Monday, so we'll have that next week. But I just want to say thank you to you, Nancy. It's been an absolute pleasure having you. And of course, this 54 minutes always sort of flies by. And I am going to be reaching out to you because I'm very interested in the class. And I hope other people will look you up, find her podcast, like her Facebook page, everything. And we appreciate you every week. So have a good week, everybody. Enjoy, and we'll see you next time. Thank you so much.
Bye.
You've been listening to the Paranormal Project radio show with Scott Allen and Christina Bowen. Be sure to subscribe so you don't miss the next episode. While you're there, leave us a rating and review. We'll be back next week with more exciting guests. Now go out there and explore the paranormal.